welcome to Pontypool Park. Now, when we planned this edition of Weekend Rugby Union a long time ago, at Cardiff against Pontypool, we little guessed that the two clubs would be drawn against each other in the semi-final of the Schweppes Cup to take place in a fortnight's time, and that we would be covering that fixture as well. But never mind. Confrontations between Cardiff and Pontypool are always epics, and we'll be in for some tremendous entertainment this afternoon, I feel quite sure. More action in the programme from Abertillery Park, where Wales play France at youth level, and that'll be our cue to focus on a number of different aspects of teenage rugby in Wales. We hear from Adrian Hearn on the domestic scene, and then we end the programme with a preview of Wales's next Five Nations Championship match against Ireland in Cardiff next Saturday. We've been to Dublin to meet a most charismatic character, the former flanker who is now Ireland's coach, Mick Doyle, and you'll meet him later on. First of all, though, here at Pontypool Park, who's involved in the big game? The emblem of Pontypool and the home team are without David Bishop today. He's got flu, and so they are using Cliff Morgan at scrum half, a man who's expected to come here permanently soon. Blenheim Taylor covers for the other absent halfback, Mike Goldsworthy. And in his place, Taylor's normal place on the wing, an interesting selection in Sean Hansen, and he was a youth clap last season. The pack is its usual mighty self. The sixth internationals include skipper Eddie Butler. Cardiff put out the strongest team they can in the circumstances, bearing in mind that Alan Phillips and Kevin Edwards are ruled out by injuries up front, and so Jose Suso and Howard Stone are the deputies. Behind the scrum, it's the mixture as usual, with perhaps a chance today to admire the dazzling skills revealed at Murrayfield by the centre Mark Ring. And the kind of crowd to watch the big game that Phil Bennett, who's with me, will remember from some cup ties here.
Yes, marvellous occasions, and when you ran out and saw that magnificent crowd on the bank there, really gave us some excitement. But then the great cries of Pooler, Pooler came, and we used to be frightened to death. But nevertheless, great occasions.
An arm in the air from Derek Bevan to start the game, and I think that there would be very few people in the whole of the British Isles who would deny that this is a confrontation between perhaps the two top clubs in the country at the moment, and the crowd in the background to prove it, the size of it. The intriguing thing is that in the early confrontation between the two at Cardiff in the autumn, it was a draw, so it's all square, so to speak, as we go into the game. The first penalty just inside the Pontypool half goes Cardiff's way. And Gareth Davis took a look at the posts and goes down the line. That's interesting, because I made it that the wind is blowing left to right as we look, but he still didn't want to chance his boot. Mark Brown is at the back for Pontypool. Butler and Squire make up the back row, and perhaps they'll have to go hunting if Cardiff win this ball. But the hands you saw belong to Kevin Mosley, and on the right, Cliff Morgan is able to receive from the young lock and play Pontypool out of trouble. That's the man who deputises today for David Bishop. He's from Kimler, is Cliff Morgan, and of course you've seen him playing a season or two ago with Neath. Lakin wears 6 for Cardiff, 5 is Norster. On the right, Brown is 7, Butler's 8, and Squires 6 for Pontypool. And Norster beats them all. Roberts helps. Interesting move, bringing in Hadley from the left wing to surprise Pontypool. Phil Bennett's with me, and really, Adrian Hadley, week after week, we see him looking for work.
I think that's why he's playing ever so well. He's not content to stay in his wing, and as we can see, he comes in from his narrow side, and after some good handling inside, Hadley makes the break. Good play by the winger.
Now Cardiff stripped the line, and I wonder if it's for Scott. And Mark Brown defeats him. Butler completes the job. Morgan runs, number 9. Holmes checks in. Caudle advances, halfway line. The ball missed by the wing, and opportunism from Pontypool, and the youngster in the foreground, Hansen, their left wing, straight out of youth, was nearly onto something good. That's Sean Hansen, number 11. He won his youth cap against South Africa about 14 months ago at Stradey Park. For a change, that's Cardiff's 22. Holmes in the background, the Cardiff captain. Butler just missing there, Pontypool's captain, but it's safely out with Taylor. It's Faulkner cutting the Cardiff defence all too easily. Squire taking up the running. Cardiff's goal line is close. Pontypool driving. Perkins. Morgan drops the goal. It's not good. Soto seems to have possession for the visitors. Holmes delivers to Davis. Here comes the clearance. Just over the head of young Hansen. That was an attack put together pretty well by Pontypool, and some incisive running by Lyndon Faulkner. The halfway line, that's Howard Stone with the headband and a fierce expression, jumping against Perkins at the front of a line. In the middle. Taken by Whitefoot. There may be a lot of variation at the line-out this afternoon as the teams try to beat the established patterns. Pontypool. Some very able line-out players, Phil Bennett, on view today.
Yes, superb jumpers. Perkins in the front and Noster in the middle.
It's too full. And I wonder if that was deliberate on the part of Gareth Davis to look for a dropout 22. Gareth Davis, Ring collects a difficult pass. Very well held indeed by Lee Jones. Cardiff knock on in the midfield. Derek Bevan sees it. Well, now Phil Bennett, there's an interesting thing in those two front rows. 4 international props in a club game. Can you remember anything remotely like that?
No, I remember playing with Bobby Windsor, and he had sort of Charlie Faulkner and Graham Price and playing against the types of Barry Llewellyn, but I don't ever remember 4 props, international props, playing together in the same game.
I wonder if that's a record. Anyway, they've got to stay up and demonstrate that they are internationals, not go to ground. The scrum is just within Pontypool's 10-metre line, and the Pontypool trio in the front row are penalised. Could this be an early lead for Cardiff? It will be. The touch flags up very early for an accurate kick by Gareth Davis, who had a week off, of course, in Murrayfield while Wyatt did the place kicking, but today reminds us of his skill. Just over 8 minutes into the game. Scott waiting and making the ball tight. A little bit of unpleasantry in the foreground. Gareth Davis breaking, beautifully delivered pass to Ring. Donovan shows good hands as he reaches the halfway line. Holmes, Davis back on his feet. Ring 2. Is there enough room for Caudle to make progress? Hansen confronts him. Number 12 for Pontypool, Lee Jones, was there too. Well, the crowd enjoyed that, and Phil Bennett, wonderful play from Gareth Davis.
Yes, some lovely handling and a lovely break by Gareth Davis. People say he doesn't run enough, but he slips through here quite easily and manages to get his pass into Mark Ring, a touch of Mark Ella with a pass.
The face of John Perkins, the holder now of 10 caps, his 10th at Murrayfield the other day. That's Norster defeating Mosley. That's Ring now, and Paul Rees is in the line. They were waiting for him. And in particular, it was Lyndon Faulkner. Holmes goes again. Cardiff should be able to work a man over. Davis may have gone the wrong way. Steve Jones is in the way for Pontypool, the hooker. Good ruck by the home team. Glennon Taylor has a bit of room. Round Holmes, round Caudle, and still going. Almost as far as halfway. Ring has covered. Sensational purple patch of rugby. Both sides giving it the gun. Perkins and Squire, the Pontypool men there. It's over their heads though, and Mosley got the first hand to it. Staff Jones goes driving in, looks for support. He's got it from little Cliff Morgan, the scrum half, beautifully delivered. Squire drives on in the action for the second time. Now they want the ruck to see if they can score the first try. Lyndon Faulkner has cut back in, and Derek Bevan was watching carefully. There was a ruck, and the Cardiff backs were in front of it. The penalty goes to the home team. Butler Council's caution, number 8, I think. Lynn Faulkner was keen to run for a try. Butler says there are 3 points available for Peter Lewis, his fullback. This ought to be 3-3, and it is. Penalty goal now to each side.
Penalty goal by fullback Peter Lewis.
17.5 minutes into the game. It's 3-3. Well, that's a penalty awarded by Derek Bevan for offside. The lineup was over and there wasn't a scrummage. That's a curious decision. It's a still afternoon and this kick is well within the compass of Gareth Davis. Climbs and swings and scores 3 more. 6-3. Cardiff lead for the second time.
Penalty goal by outside half Gareth
A lot
Davis.
of Cardiff support on the big bank and in the stand and thoroughly enjoying the rugby. That's in the middle of the Cardiff front row, the face of Jose Suto, who's really their number 2 hooker. Alan Phillips is immobilised and he lost that one against the head. Pontypool will be anguished that the referee wasn't happy about the packing in the front rows after they'd done so well to take against the head. And now Cliff Morgan compounds it by getting offside in his attempt to hold Holmes. But the fisticuffs prompt Derek Bevan. I think he's changed his mind twice. At the ruck a little earlier, there was some stamping by one of the Pontypool forwards, and maybe that's the kind of thing that starts it. It does escalate. That's a good way to end it. And the kick remains with Cardiff, the original one for offside against Cliff Morgan. Touch. That's the United band, the beard which we first noticed about a month ago. It's flourishing now, isn't it? Holmes. Look at Mark Brown speeding out after the Cardiff midfield and forcing them to kick. Donovan's kick is well gathered by Peter Lewis. Good work by Paul Rees. The counter-attack by Cardiff's fullback. Donovan setting up something for his side, and then they ruin it by lying on the ground. Taylor, not so happy kicking away to his right. His kicks on this side of the field have been quite admirable. Ten-metre line of Cardiff. On the left, the Cardiff captain, Terry Holmes, looks a little bit out of sorts, but that looked all right. His delivery to Davis. Ring picks up the momentum, and Cordell makes a mistake, which Pontypool pounce on. Bevan is being very sparing with the advantage he's allowing today. Cordell will be annoyed with himself for putting that reasonable pass on the deck. Steve Jones will strike. Help from Staff Jones on the loosehead side. Move with Butler. Driving forward as far as that 22. Morgan's delivery to Mark Brown. He couldn't quite get the pass in. That was an important tackle by Ring. Now Steve Jones takes up the running. Pontypool going for a try that they would dearly like to score just before half-time. Pressure for Paul Rees. Faulkner's coming through on the Cardiff fullback, who does wonderfully well. What a challenge by Pontypool. What a difficult one, Phil Bennett.
That was an excellent up and under by Blair Taylor, and Paul Rees did superbly well at fullback to take that ball with the 3 or 4 Pontypool players charging down on him.
This is the one where the fullback didn't go for too much length. He needs to make it safe, and Rees knew that. the man who's serving Cardiff pretty well this afternoon, because Glennon Taylor and Peter Lewis and co are putting him to all kinds of tests. It's the first time we've seen Eddie Butler since his surprise announcement that he was finishing with international rugby. And let's hope that Eddie enjoys club rugby here for many more seasons. Mosley and Perkins at work within the 10-metre line of Cardiff. Beautiful delivery, beautiful service. Brown is tackled by Roberts of Cardiff. Cardiff are infringing the offside line. And after that little dart by Brown, perhaps a chance for a penalty to be kicked. For the second time, Peter Lewis attempting to level the scores. Still danger for Cardiff as the ball bounces off a post into the in-goal area. But they have it covered, and Holmes appears again to be in discomfort.
Well, I remember he went into a Pontypool player, and he went in, as I say, with no holding back. But he's such a brave and competitive player, but he's obviously not right. And with Steve Cannon on the bench, I'm sure it'd be wise for Terry Holmes to come off.
He's being gallant, but I'm sure and a lot of people would agree with what Phil Bennett says. That's common sense. But Steve Cannon is putting his tracksuit back on. He's next to Roger Beard, the Cardiff coach. Good work done by Mosley. Cardiff go over the top. Perhaps Eidman the culprit, seeking to prevent the distribution, and another chance for Peter Lewis to kick a goal. Will it be 6-6? It's curled in, the flags rise high, and Dr. Peter Lewis makes it 6-6 at Pontypool Park. I suppose we should remember that we're in a period of intense pressure for these top players, with the Cup in its final stages and the International Championship just underway for Wales. Phil, it's really non-stop. The pressure must be intense. You remember it so well.
Yes, but never quite so much as bad as this because of the postponements. It means that these lads are playing virtually top-class rugby for the next 6 weeks or so, and it takes a lot out of them.
That was a surprise one for the visitors. Just a suggestion of obstruction, which the crowd wasn't happy about. And neither was Derek Bevan.
Yes, there was definite obstruction there. I think Gareth Davis took the ball, showed it to Alan Donovan, who came in front of his man, and Mr. Bevan was right in the spot and quite rightly penalised Cardiff.
Glennon Taylor takes the kick. It climbs away towards the 22 of the visitors. That's the end of the half. Not a distinguished one, although very few punches are being pulled, and perhaps the biggest drama of the half, the injury to Holmes. It's all square at 6-6. Dramatic moment at the interval. Tony Williams on the right, one of Cardiff's committee men, has exercised his seniority, and he's ordered Terry to leave the field. Holmes gallantly wanted to stay on, but the committee, you can see his frustration. The Cardiff captain gallantly wanting to stay on, but everybody was showing concern, including Derek Bevan, the referee, who of course is responsible for anyone who might be slightly concussed. And the net result is that Terry's gone to have a bath and clear his head, and Cannon's in for Cardiff. Here's Mark Ring. He got his left boot behind that. It's a beautiful screw kick under some pressure. There he is. He made a tremendous hit with the Scots at Murrayfield, who I don't think realised quite the gifts that Mark Ring possesses until last Saturday. Number 16 on the right is Steve Cannon, who of course played so ably and so often for Cardiff earlier in the season, while Holmes nursed the last injury he had against Pontypool. Mosley won that well, number 5 for the home team. Lee Jones, a good mismove pass to Peter Lewis. Sean Hansen, quite a handful for number 14 of Cardiff. Gerald Caudle. Pontypool pack is there first. It's out with Taylor. It's aimed for the corner flag. Paul Rees and Hadley come towards it for Cardiff. Hadley's got to play it out now. He carried over. And of course he held onto it to prevent Gough Davis taking a quick throw in, which was really an infringement. He's lucky to get away with that. Steve Cannon is in the Cardiff in-goal area at this very dangerous moment for the visitors at the beginning of the second half. Pontypool in a tremendously threatening position. Stone defeats them for the first possession, but Squire is so close to scoring. Lakin counter-attacking, trying to drive away. And the put-in at the set scrum is going to Cardiff because they were making headway. Let's watch the 8-man shove from Pontypool. That's very impressive indeed. Have they done enough to win the ball, or has Cardiff spun it and turned it away? Perkins has got it. He's trying to bob it up for Mosley. That was Gough Davis working hard, sent back to Cliff Morgan. And a penalty awarded for handling at the ruck, but I think, Phil, that was a severe one.
Yes, and good play we see here that when Pontypool have a great scrimmage, but good play by Gough Davis to go in there to retrieve the ball.
Perkins, Staff Jones, Mosley on Cardiff's 22. Well, that was clear to see, and quite ruthlessly done. And a penalty award, 15 metres in from touch, and surely this will be one that Peter Lewis won't like to miss. Worth having another look at that line-out just to see just how how tough things can be at the top. And look at young Mosley. That's called dumping. Peter Lewis. Carefully done, carefully aimed. And Pontypool are in front at last. It's taken them a long time, but it's 9-6. And the news is that Terry Holmes was concussed in an incident in the first half. He's just sensibly letting his head clear, and the Cardiff camp is not alarmed about his fitness for Wales next week. So Holmes watches his club contesting a line-out close to halfway. They're behind, though. They've fallen behind since he went off the field at 9-6, and they concede a penalty. Lewis. It's for the midfield. Lynn Jones and Faulkner to chase, and Rees is equal to it, but Ring makes the mistake and seemed to be just there first. Let's have another look at that one.
Excellent play by Peter Lewis here. They thought he was going to kick to the touchline, but he puts an up and under in, and it's a wonderful up and under, and Pontypool are right there in strength, but Rees takes it brilliantly, never takes his eye off the ball, but unfortunately throws a loose pass to Mark Ring, and he only Excellent play by the Pontypool midfield.
Lennon Taylor went over a little way to try and make it easier for Peter Lewis, and it succeeded, and the try is worth 6. Pontypool just 6 minutes away from a very satisfying victory, which will put them 1 up, give them a psychological boost towards the cup semi-final. It's with Ring, with Caudle, confronted by Faulkner. Hansen has found support from Lewis. Lewis has found a bit of room. Clever chip ahead by the fullback. Paul Rees is there. Comment about the two fullbacks, Phil Bennett.
Yes, both played very well. Rees has been very secure under the eyeball, under a lot of pressure this afternoon, but Peter Lewis is beginning to enjoy himself and selling dummies and running at the Cardiff defence, something which you don't often see.
Wonder how many more seasons we'll have the pleasure of seeing the great prop number 3 Graham Price in action here. Something of a veteran now at 32, and of course no longer in international play, but peeling away there with as much energy as ever and being a useful link to wrong foot Cardiff. Squire, Butler. Butler with points to prove to the Welsh public, managing to bob the ball up. Pontypool looking capable of a second try. They're over the line. Can they get to ground? They've got it. And it looks as if Robbie Windsor was the scorer. Listen to the popularity of this man.